Alright, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the 14th episode of the Witcher lore series that I have on my channel. Today we are going to be talking about Yennefer's infamous letter to Geralt. Without a doubt, one of my favorite moments in the entire saga. I absolutely adore this moment. It kind of definitely highlights the immaturity of Geralt's character, to kind of show us that, yeah, this guy still does not have, this whole love thing figured out. And I just love it. I just love Yennefer calling him out on his bullshit, really. And, so yeah, that's why it really resonated with me, and I thought it was a moment that definitely needed to be talked about. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So before we actually jump in, I think it's important to kind of refresh ourselves to see how we eventually get to this point. So I think most importantly, the book Blood of Elves is primarily focused around Ciri's training. The Witchers trying to train Ciri, and Triss and Yennefer eventually training Ciri as well. Of course, there are other things that happen in the book, like the introductions of Riance and Vilgefortz, and things like that, but I think primarily it is about Ciri's kind of development as a character. This is really the book where we have, the Witchers and the two sorceresses trying to get a grasp and a handle, an understanding of Ciri's powers, and while at the same time this is basically the beginnings of the tug of war for Ciri. So to set up the stage more specifically, we have Geralt in the beginning of the book taking Ciri to Kaer Morhen, to, just generally train her in the ways of the Witcher, but not necessarily subjugating her to the trials of the grasses and things like that. So she does undergo, the general training of what someone who is training to become a Witcher would go through, but just without the mutations and that sort of thing. So during this first part of the book, this is where we get introduced to Vesemir, Eskel, Lambert, and Cohen, and these are basically Ciri's teachers for this first part of the book, who will be, who are responsible for training her, as well as Geralt, of course. But there, it gets a little funky because Ciri starts falling into these weird, trance-like state of mind. Like she just randomly will fall into like a trance and will be, speaking in like a different voice, almost as if she's possessed. She's having these crazy dreams. So basically her source abilities are kind of, starting to show up for really the first time, and the Witchers, them being the idiots that they are, they have no clue how to handle this. They're really kind of clueless in this situation because they've never really been exposed to anything like this. So of course Geralt comes up with the idea that we need professional help for this. Like, this is out of our realm of possibility. This is beyond us, basically. So we need outside help, and that is when Geralt contacts Triss Merigold. So the Witchers end up inviting Triss Merigold to Kaer Morhen, where hopefully she will have a better time at helping Ciri to better control her powers, but eventually Triss doesn't really fare any better. She really struggles in trying to help Ciri. So then Triss comes to the kind of decision that we need someone even more experienced than I am, and of course, really the only person left that girl can turn to is Yennefer. And keep in mind, it's very important to remember the kind of order of people that Geralt has asked for help, for help, who he's turned to in this situation to help Ciri, because Geralt went to Triss first, not Yennefer. He actually sought out Triss first. And then Yennefer was his second choice. So just keep that in mind, because that is definitely going to come back and bite Geralt in the ass. So just remember that. But yeah, so basically Triss decides that, no, we need someone more experienced to help Ciri. So then Geralt goes to work immediately on writing to Yennefer, basically just catching her up on the situation, informing her about, Ciri and her symptoms, like what exactly is wrong with her. And I think also it's also really important to remember that at this point, Yennefer and Geralt's relationship is really awkward at this moment. That's part of the reason why he went to Triss first, why he didn't even consider Yennefer and he went to Triss first instead, is because they're not really on talking terms right now. Things are really awkward between them. They've been separated for, I want to say, more than a year or something like that. I think that, with Geralt writing this letter, we can infer that, yes, obviously he misses her. He wishes things could have worked out better between them. He wants to be with her, but I think you can definitely infer that he did not want to write this letter at all. He did not want to have to be placed in this position. So the letter goes out to Yennefer, and then we have Geralt, Triss, and Ciri eventually going off on their own to basically drop off Ciri at a school with Mother Neneke, or I think the temple or something like that. And then they go their separate ways, and we catch up with Geralt about it. I want to say a month later, while he's on a mission, and we finally get to hear what Yennefer had to say back to him, and it is absolutely priceless. So we catch up to Geralt exactly 1 month later while he's in the middle of this job. He's writing a fairy currently, and he pulls out a letter, Yennefer's response to him, that he has already read 30 times. He has gone through this letter 30 times, which, man, tells you all you need to know. But he opens it up, and the very first line is, "Dear friend." And there's actually a pretty funny reason as to why she's referring to him as friend. So basically, when Geralt was initially writing to Yennefer, he had been for 2 nights straight thinking of a proper way of beginning the letter, like just the best way to actually begin the letter itself. And after 2 nights, he finally decided that "dear friend" was the best way to start off this letter. And now it's come back to bite him in the ass. And here is Yennefer's response. "Dear friend, your unexpected letter, which I received not quite 3 years after we last saw each other, has given me much joy." Which, really quickly, the 3 years thing is really, really important, so keep that in mind. We'll talk about it later. "My joy is all the greater as various rumors have been circulating about your sudden and violent death. It is a good thing that you have decided to disclaim them by writing to me. It is a good thing, too, that you are doing so soon. From your letter, it appears that you have lived a peaceful, wonderfully boring life, devoid of all sensation. These days, such a life is a real privilege, dear friend, and I am happy that you have managed to achieve it. I was touched by the sudden concern which you deigned to show as to my health, dear friend. I hasten with the news that, yes, I now feel well. The period of indisposition is behind me. I have dealt with the difficulties, but the description of which I shall not bore you with." So I think thus far the biggest takeaway for me is, one of them, just the fact that Yennefer has already called Geralt "dear friend" 3 times, like, really making that sting. Like, that wasn't her choice of words. That was all Geralt. He decided on the "dear friend," so she's like essentially giving him his just desserts, because let's be honest, like, Geralt totally deserves this after we find out in this letter and Yennefer's response that they have not seen each other in 3 years. During that time, the Battle of Sodden Hill happened, right? And Yennefer was like pretty messed up, like pretty badly after that fight. And in that 3-year gap, Geralt never once tried to reach out to her, never visited her, never written to her, anything like that. So then in this letter to have her say, "Oh, I was so touched by the sudden concern which you deigned to show for my health, dear friend," like really rubbing it in that, like, after all this time, you finally want to, check up on me, like, after 3 years, like, really, Geralt? Like, oh man, your sudden concern for my health. Oh, I'm so flattered by just how quickly you were able to write to me, man. Like, I just love the snarkiness behind it. It worries and troubles me very much that the unexpected present you received from fate brings you worries. Your suspicion that this requires professional help is absolutely correct, although your description of the difficulty, quite understandably, is enigmatic. I am sure I know the source of the problem, and I agree with your opinion that the help of yet another magician is absolutely necessary. I feel honored to be the second to whom you turn. What have I done to deserve to be so high on your list? And right here, this is my favorite line in Yennefer's entire letter. Just the fact that she's acknowledging the fact that, really, Geralt, you went to Triss, my best friend, first of all, and someone that Geralt doesn't really know too well. Well, in terms of, he knows Yennefer more than Triss, but nonetheless, you decided to go to Triss first instead of me. Okay, I'm gonna call you out on that too. Like, I just love it. Just the fact that she's like, oh, what did I do to deserve to be second on your list? I mean, that's so high on your list, Geralt. Like, oh, I just don't deserve this. Like, what an honor this is. Like, it is such a fantastic response on Yennefer's part that really highlights Geralt not wanting to face Yennefer so bad that he was willing to seek help from someone else because he didn't want to face Yennefer, right? And I think Yennefer knew that, and she's calling him out on it, and I think it's fantastic, dude. I think I said it earlier, but it really highlights a little bit of Geralt's immaturity. Rest assured, my dear friend, and if you had the intention of supplicating the help of additional magicians, abandon it, because there is no need. I leave without delay and go to the place which you indicated in an oblique, yet, to me, understandable way. It goes without saying that I leave in absolute secrecy and with great caution. I will surmise the nature of the trouble on the spot and will do all that is in my power to calm the gushing source. I shall try, in doing so, not to appear any worse than the other ladies to whom you have turned, are turning, or usually turn with your supplications. I am, after all, your dear friend. Your valuable friendship is too important to me to disappoint you, dear friend. And, I mean, again, this last little part is fantastic. It just puts a huge grin on my face. The part where she says that I shall try in so doing not to appear any worse than other ladies than whom you have turned, or turning, or usually turn with your supplications. So again, you know, really hammering in the fact that, oh, you went to Triss first before me. You know, really solidifying that, making it sting for Geralt. And her just saying in the most, like, Yennefer way possible, saying that I will do my best to basically not appear, you know, worse than Triss and the others that you have turned to. That I will do my utmost to actually produce some results and, you know, try to get this figured out, unlike the others that you have turned to. And then, of course, Yennefer finishes her letter off with one last little jab, and, oh man, here it is. Should you in the next few years wish to write to me, do not hesitate for a moment. Your letters invariably give me boundless pleasure. Your friend Yennefer. The letters smelled of lilac and gooseberries, and Geralt cursed. It is such a perfect way for her to end this letter. I mean, again, acknowledging the fact that it took you 3 years to contact me, man. 3 years. So it's just her having a little bit of fun, saying, like, I eagerly anticipate your next letter when it comes within the next couple years. You know, whenever you finally decide to write me or talk to me again, I will eagerly anticipate that letter. And then, of course, closing it with your friend Yennefer, like just that one last little like middle finger kind of. It's perfect, man. So yeah, like I said, this is one of my favorite just moments in the entire saga. I think this moment, not only Yennefer's letter, but Ciri's letter to Geralt as well, really raises Blood of Elves for me. In the pantheon of Witcher books, and I don't know, I think for Yennefer, what it does for her character, I think the most interesting thing about it for her character, this kind of shows us that, or at least in my mind, if this was any other character, if this was any other love interest, I feel like this guy would have been subjugated to the worst magic in human history or something like that. Like Yennefer would fuck that guy up. If anyone else did this to her, they would be doomed. They would wish that they never met her in the first place, man. To me, I think what's most striking, she just the honesty. She tells Geralt that, you know what, I had my moment of indisposition. I had my moment where I was probably, or she was probably beating herself over Geralt, that she was probably not depressed, but definitely, feeling a little something about Geralt not wanting to talk to her or anything like that. Like, she had her moment where she was feeling that way. She's over it. She's made it to the other side of it. And then to write this letter, not like completely like, like, I don't know, cursing him to hell, or, saying all these terrible things about him, or I don't know, she could have put like a magic spell in there to like blow up once he opened it, or something like that. I don't know. I guess my point is that the letter could have and probably should have been way worse, since we know how Yennefer is, right? But the fact that no, she took the letter as an opportunity to poke a little bit of fun at Geralt, to tease him a little bit, deservedly so. Because I mean, let me make my stance clear. Like, Geralt absolutely is in the wrong in this situation. I mean, he essentially left Yennefer on read for 3 years, man. Who does that? For 3 years, he didn't try to. I think what makes it even more worse is the fact that, the Battle of Sodden Hill happened, and it was a battle that really left a lot of people scarred on both sides. Triss and Yennefer in particular. I think, if my memory serves me right, I think Triss said that Yennefer was messed up so badly that she could hardly recognize her. And Geralt obviously knew about the battle, because it did kind of end up being a pretty famous battle in history. So he definitely knew about it, and just the fact that, knowing that she was in there, that she fought in that war, or in that battle, and that he didn't check on her, he didn't try to reach out to her, look for her, see if she was okay, see if she was still alive even. He could have just threw out a little note like, hey, are you okay? Go visit her in Wengenberg or whatever. That's all he had to do. But he didn't do that. Like, he didn't do that. I think that's really, really shitty of him not to check on her. I know that they were separated. They weren't seeing eye to eye. But I still think, after everything that you two have been through, your past alone should be good enough reason to make you care enough to at least go check on her, to see if she's alive, or see if she's all right, So I don't know. In my opinion, that was a little shitty of him to do, and he definitely had this coming. The fact that it wasn't, like I said earlier, this letter could have and probably should have been way worse than what it ended up actually being. And the fact that it wasn't, I think, says a lot about Yennefer's character. The fact that she was able to move on and say, you know what, that I had my time to grieve, I guess. I had my time to be sad. I'm over it. I'm done with that time. I'm gonna use this moment to tease him a little bit and make him feel like an ass, because, you know what, honestly, he kind of was an ass. And again, this only strengthens, in my eyes, Yennefer's character, because despite making the letter, that she could have made it a lot worse than she actually did, despite that, she also could have refused Geralt, just outright. She could have not responded. She could have, said, you know what, no, I'm not gonna train Ciri, F that, or something like that. But the fact that she still, after everything that Geralt did, or lack of a better word, everything that he didn't do, the fact that she still accepted to help him, I think that tells you all you need to know about her, man. And obviously still shows that, deep down inside, she still has a soft spot for him. And, yeah, man, I hope I explained well enough why this is one of my favorite moments in the entire saga. Yennefer making Geralt look like, or feel like an ass, because at the end of the day, he was, and even he knows it too. Like he definitely knows after he finishes reading the letter, he knows that he fucked up big time. So yeah, man, I just really like what it did in that moment, what it did for Yennefer's character, but also at the same time showing that, man, Geralt and I guess Yennefer at the same time, but mostly Geralt definitely has a long way to go in terms of this relationship. So yeah, man, it worked for me. And so that pretty much concludes the story of Yennefer's very snarky, just overall hilarious letter to Geralt. A letter that he has read through 30 times, which I found really, really funny as well. Yeah, just I can't express enough how much I love this moment in Blood of Elves. It's great, man. I think it makes the book for me, honestly. I mean, obviously the meat and potatoes of that book is, Ciri's training with, essentially her father Geralt and her mother Yennefer. Like, that is the core of that book, to me at least. But that letter, man, is just always a standout to me, and I always look forward to getting to that moment whenever I reread this book. It's so good, man. But anyways, that's it for the video, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe for more Witcher lore videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.